Hello everyone, welcome to another audio note with me, CA Preeti Aggarwal, where we are discussing all the concepts in the form of these small audio sessions. In my earlier sessions, I had discussed the meaning of contract with you. So, what is a contract? What are the essential elements of a valid contract? Then we had also discussed offer, acceptance, communication of offer and acceptance, consideration, and competency to contract. So, all that was covered in my earlier sessions. In case you have missed, then the playlist is available in the form of audio notes, so you can go through the earlier sessions. A proper revision podcast where we discuss all the section numbers in story format. We discuss the keywords, key phrases, what you should write in the exam, how you should write in the exam, what kind of question will be asked in the exam. All that is discussed in my revision podcast. Combos are available, so you can purchase the podcast from my website capreetiaggarwal.com. The podcast is a detailed one. It also contains on how you should write the answer, what kind of question will be asked on a particular concept, and how to remember section numbers, keywords, what on which section question will be asked in the exam. All that information is provided in my podcast. You can purchase that from my website capreetiaggarwal.com. Continuing with our discussion, we have free consent, that is the next element, and in today's session I'm going to discuss the meaning of coercion and undue influence. Now, what is consent? First, let us discuss that. Section 13 defines consent and Section 14 defines free consent. Consent means when two persons, they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. So they are agreeing upon the same thing and they are agreeing upon it in the same sense. Now, let's say that I offer to sell my car to you. We are agreeing upon the same car in the same manner. It is the same brand of car, it is the same type of car, and we both are agreeing upon the same thing. It means our minds have consented. There is identity of minds. Identity means that both are agreeing upon the same thing. But if there is no consent, then there will be no contract. This consent must be free consent. It means nobody should force me to enter into a contract. Free consent is defined under Section 14. So consent is free when it is not caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake. Coercion, Section 15. Undue influence, Section 16. Fraud, Section 17. Misrepresentation, Section 18. And mistake is discussed under Section 20. So what about Section 19? According to Section 19, when the consent is obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, then the contract is voidable. And also 19A actually covers undue influence. So Section 19 and 19A, they cover the provision that in case the consent is obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, then the contract will be voidable. And if it is caused by mistake, then the contract is void. How will you define coercion? See, Section 15 defines coercion. The definition of coercion is important. You need to learn it for exam. Coercion means committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code. Unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any property to the prejudice of other means any property belonging to the other person. Now, why are we doing all this? With the intention of causing the other person to enter into an agreement. You can rewind the video, you can listen to this audio again and again till you learn the definition. See, this is the benefit of audio notes, that you can rewind, you can listen to it. And see, this is the same thing that happens with songs also. When you listen to a song multiple times, and that song you will remember maybe for years together. Okay, so that is the importance of audio. So committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, it means you are committing any act which is forbidden by IPC. It will be considered as a criminal act. The word forbid also shows that it is unlawful. So you have either committed an act or you are threatening, you are giving dhamki that I will commit something like beating someone or threatening at gunpoint. All that amounts to coercion. Unlawful detaining or threatening to detain the property belonging to the other person, like an agent is forcing the principal to release him of the debt, to release him from all his liability. He says, if you don't release, then I will burn your books, I will not give you your books. In this case, he is retaining the books of accounts of the principal. This is nothing but coercion. You are detaining something which belongs to the other person. That is coercion. Okay, now coercion, it may be exercised against any person and it may be by any person. There must be coercion in the contract. We are not concerned who is exercising coercion. It may be either by the parties to the contract or by some any other outsider person, but there should be coercion in the contract. So, constituting consideration may proceed from any person and it may be directed against any person. The threat to commit suicide amounts to coercion because you're causing some physical harm to the person, so that amounts to coercion. In case the consent is obtained by coercion, then the contract is voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so obtained. What is the meaning of voidable? It means that the aggrieved party has two options. He can either cancel the contract or he can treat the contract as valid. In case he cancels the contract, whatever benefit he has received, that must be restored. Then we have the concept of undue influence. See, undue influence, it means that the relation between the parties is such that one party is in the position to dominate the will of the other party, and he uses that position to obtain unfair advantage. So when the relation between the parties is such that one party can easily influence the other party. See, relation here does not mean blood relation. It means there can be any kind of relation wherein one person is in the dominating position and he uses that position to obtain unfair advantage. Here in the definition, meaning of the word will means the wish or the desire, marzi of the other person. It does not mean the will that a person prepares, that if I die, something happens to me, then the property will go. We are not talking about that will. We are talking about the wish or the desire of the person, and he uses that position to obtain unfair advantage. Now, there are certain relations like solicitor, client, doctor, patient, spiritual advisor, devotee, parent, child. In these cases, we assume that there can be undue influence. The party doesn't have to prove that there is undue influence. We assume that yes, this party is in the dominating position. There can be undue influence. Okay, so in these cases, the dominating party will have to prove that I know there is a presumption, I am in the dominating position, but I have not exercised undue influence. That burden lies on the dominating party over here. There are certain cases wherein we presume that there can be undue influence, like for example, a person holds some real or apparent authority. Okay, I have real authority when I have the authority to actually influence the other person, like in case of master servant, parent and child. Like parent has actual authority to influence the decision of the child, master has actual authority over the servant, but there is some kind of colored authority in case of principal, temporary teacher, teacher student, office, police officer. So in these cases, yes, there is some kind of apparent authority. When one person stands in fiduciary relation with other, fiduciary means it is a relation of trust and confidence. In all the cases which we discuss wherein there is presumption, there is trust, there is confidence. That is why the other person was influenced. Yes, so there are certain cases wherein the party stands in fiduciary relation, there can be undue influence, where one person makes a contract with the other who is in mental distress. So you can easily influence a person who is affected by age, illness, any person who is affected by mental or bodily distress. It is very easy to influence a depressed person. So under all these circumstances, we presume that one party is in the position to dominate the will of the other party. Here who has to prove? See, here basically it will be the dominating party. In case of coercion, the aggrieved party will have to prove that I was coerced. But in case of undue influence, the dominating party will have to prove that no, I did not exercise undue influence. Here we will also discuss the contracts with a pardanashin woman. Now, pardanashin means someone who is confined to the four walls of the house. A woman who lives in solidarity or isolation. She is not allowed to interact with the outsiders. She cannot interact with any male member of the family except few. She does not have knowledge. She is illiterate, mostly illiterate person. This person can easily be influenced. If a person is uneducated, if a person is not allowed to interact with the outside world, that person can be easily influenced. So in those circumstances, there is undue influence. But can we have the same assumption in case of husband and wife? No, there is no presumption. You'll have to prove who was dominating, because sometimes husband may dominate, sometimes wife may be dominating. So you will have to prove. There is no presumption. See, there can be undue influence, but we can't presume who's dominating the other person. But in case of a Pardhanasheen woman, there is a presumption that she can be influenced, because there is a possibility of undue influence considering the circumstances. She can avoid the contracts on the basis of undue influence. The other party will have to prove that no, I did not influence, or in fact I explained all the provisions, I disclosed all the facts, she understood the facts, she gave her consent clearly, she gave her consent freely. That will have to be proved by the other party. So this basically is done to protect such innocent women from being influenced by other people. So in case of Pardhanasheen woman, you have to remember that there is a presumption of undue influence. So in today's session, students, we discussed two concepts, that is coercion and undue influence. I hope these two concepts are clear, and in my next session I will finish the concept with fraud, misrepresentation and mistake. Alright, so this was a very short, quick and effective audio session. Do subscribe to my channel and also hit the bell icon so that you get notification, because we are going to upload these audio notes every day. I'm also going to start with law revision for Companies Act. If you have missed my earlier revision sessions, the keyword revision was uploaded for Partnership Act and Sale of Goods Act, but we are also going to upload the revisions for Companies Act, Contract Act and LLP. So keep watching this space and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on those important videos. Do check my website capreetiaggarwal.com for full podcast revision lectures, and we have recently launched an intensive test series for CA Foundation, which covers chapter wise test series as well as prelims. So do visit my website capreetiaggarwal.com.